Frontline with Kortney Kenny, and I'm Tom Parisi, and today we got a great set of guests. It's another episode of the Frontline podcast. I'm Tom Parisi along with Kortney Kenny, and today we got the two Owens on their God knows how many tour of duties. Probably second, I'm guessing.
So yeah, I think it's second for both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, Owen Outwater, Owen Van Steensel, fellas, welcome back to the podcast. And much like our guests last week, Nick Sema and Mr. Romani, you guys have been killing it lately. What's changed? I got to know, Mr. Outwater, let's start with you. What's changed so far for you?
I think just getting more comfortable with the team and in the league, getting used to the speed that the league plays at. It's been a little bit of a transition, but I think especially in the last couple of months, I think I've caught up to that speed and been able to excel on my game.
And Owen, number two.
Yeah, a lot of what Owen said. You kind of get used to the pace. You start to develop your role and understand that role, and kind of find out what the team looks for you or looks in of you night in and night out.
You both scored some nice goals there on Sunday in Sudbury. Mr. Outwater, I wanted to ask you about yours because I'm up in the booth watching it, and it was in and out faster than you could tell, and you're reacting. So I'm just like, okay, I assume he scored, but I thought for sure he hit the crossbar. Did you know? Obviously, you must have known right away that it went in.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I had no clue if that puck went in the net. I just started celebrating and prayed that it went in because it would look pretty bad if it didn't go in the net.
Okay, fair enough. That's really good. I like the honesty. I really appreciate that. Mr. Van Steensel, your goal. I really appreciated Mr. McDonald's assist on your goal.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty good.
No, it was I don't know, right place at the right time. But no, I mean, I work on that play sometimes in practice at extra ice. So I mean, he wasn't gonna pass it, but I guess it worked out.
Yeah, it was totally intentional. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Just play it off. That's what you're supposed to do in that situation. But I guess in that sense, he's the one that should be playing it off, not necessarily you, I guess. So
that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, along those lines, fellas, talk about maybe a time where you celebrated too early, or has that ever happened to you where you went full tilt celebration and it bit you in the backside?
My first game in the league, I remember we were playing Peterborough. There was a wide open net, and I hit the post, but I couldn't see it hit the post. I just seen it hit and come back out. So I went, put my arms up. They blew the whistle down and reviewed it, but it didn't go in the net.
And what was the reaction from the bench after that one?
Well, during the review, it was like 50-50 because I guess the bench had the same view as I did. So some people thought it was in, some didn't. So it was kind of like, did it go in? Did it not? And then I guess it didn't.
How about you? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
During the season, I remember I was on the ice with Wakely at the time, and I think he shot one off the post. And I just assumed it went in, and he just kept skating as the play went on. And I went to give him a hug, and the play's still going on. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I thought you scored, man." So, yeah.
I thought you needed a hug. I don't know. You hit the post.
That's really good. For you, Mr. Van Steensel, with yours, where it's your first game in the league, and that could have been your first goal. So I can't remember what I had for breakfast, so I can't remember much of that game. But was it like a big celebration and everything too?
No, like I was kind of cutting across the ice, and I hit it back across, and I guess I hit the left post. But I put my arms up, looked to the crowd, and then I mean, I guess it wasn't huge, but it was definitely noticeable.
I wonder if I can find a clip of that. That's funny. I got to find a clip of both of those because I can just imagine trying to hug a guy while he's mid stride too. Like, I bet you it didn't work out so well. So you guys are getting adjusted to the league and stuff. We asked this of Nick and Anthony last week. Do you remember a specific welcome to the OHL moment for you where you're like, oh my goodness, this is happening now?
Yeah, so pretty, I gotta say probably late October or early November. We were in Oshawa, and I was cutting around the net, and there's probably 2 minutes left in the game, and I guess I wasn't looking in the right spot, and I got crushed. And I got up, and I was kind of pissed off, so I went to go see who the guy was. I grabbed some guy from behind. Obviously, didn't look at the last name. Turns around, so it was Ty McSorley on Oshawa.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was kind of like, I was a deer in headlights at that point. So luckily I had Nelly and Winnie come in and help me out there, so I didn't get too stuck out by myself. But yeah, that was pretty the first welcome to the league moment for me.
Mine, I wouldn't say is so big. I don't remember getting blown up or anything too big in the early stages of the year. But I remember maybe our second weekend, I just realized like the top players in this league are elite, and it showed really early. I remember Rory Cairns got 6 points on us when we lost in the Sioux. So that kind of just opened my eyes to see the caliber of some of the guys I was playing against.
I've noticed most of the welcome to the OHL moments involve getting absolutely rocked.
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal is with that, but I hope that changes.
Well, is that just because you're used to the level that you just came from and you're not expecting a guy to be there right away, or how big they are? Like,
Yeah,
is that kind of how it is?
It's just a speed and physicality that you kind of have to adjust to. Obviously, minor midget is it's fast paced, but not near as fast as what we're getting ourselves into now, right? So you think you have an extra step, but you're looking at the ceiling at that point.
Yeah, because like way back when I started doing interviews, it was Adam McMaster. I remember asking him that, and that was his first welcome to the OHL moment. Was he got rocked by Niagara skating by their bench? So it was just from there on, it's like these guys just get obliterated. You guys get obliterated. Like it's not funny, but it's like wow, it's kind of weird how it's all the same almost. Like
I had a question. Owen O, Mr. Outwater. If you could tell a rookie coming into the season, let's say tomorrow it's his first game, he wants to talk to another rookie on the team who's been around for as many games as you have, what would you tell him? What advice would you give a rookie coming into the league?
I think just stick to your game. I think that's the thing I kind of learned throughout the season is do what you do well and don't try and do too much. I think making sure that I'm focused on my game and then I'm playing with the puck and I'm making sure I'm making the right plays at the right times instead of always being nervous about messing up. It's not a big deal if you screw up, but just kind of learning from that and sticking to your game, I think is the biggest part.
And Owen V, what's the most important thing you've learned so far in this league?
I think you just can't get in your own head when things aren't going your way. You just gotta stick to the course. Obviously, making the jump to the O is a lot bigger than some people might think. So, a couple of games in a row, you don't get points or you're not doing what you expected to do at the start. You just can't let it affect you, and you just got to go game by game.
that's kind of one of the things that I mean, especially you guys. I mean, O, you were drafted in the first round, and Mr. Van Steensel, you were a captain or wore a letter, anyways, coming up. Where you guys are kind of like the stars on your team, and you've had to kind of take the back seat a little bit, but you're starting to put your own imprint on this team. How tough is that when you first come into this, where you're not the guy anymore?
Yeah, I think it's definitely an adjustment, but I think there's guys around the room that make you feel welcomed and like you're a part of something bigger than just yourself. I mean, at this level, it's not many one-man teams. It's more about a whole collective effort. So I honestly think it's better. I think it's great to be a part of a team where we're all working to a goal. And I think as I progress and get older and become hopefully one of the leaders on the team, that I'm going to be able to do the same thing for the young guys coming in.
He kind of nailed it on the head. I think I would just add that you got to win your matchup. Even if you're not playing top minutes, you're not playing against the other top lines. But hey, if you start the year on the third or fourth line, just like us, you got to win your matchup. The guys across from you across from you are most likely in the same situation you are, and head to head, you do your job and get it done.
How important is it? Like, you guys are really lucky. Your GM has had plenty of professional experience in the AHL in Europe. One of your assistant coaches has his number retired. I don't know if you knew that about Razor. And Billy Holder's played a whole mess of NHL games. I mean, how awesome is that to have all that? And Uli. I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna
he
say
the
he's gonna
captain
be
of the
upset
Grand
if we
Rapids.
don't mention him.
I almost didn't, but he's gonna kick me for this one. But I mean, he was a leader on the Grand Rapids Griffins before he got hurt. I mean, how important is it to have that much professional experience in one spot?
It's huge. You can ask those guys anything, and they'll come up with an answer for you. And if they don't have an answer, they'll try to find one for you. So I think just being reliable and you can trust what they're the plan they're putting you through, and same thing goes with the team. We have trust in what they're doing, and it's been paying off so far.
Yeah, I think even just hearing the stories of the stuff they went through when they were younger, it's awesome. Like, after practice, we'll go over to Billy and he'll just be telling stories to the guys about like all the experience he had in the NHL, and it's really cool just to see guys that have gone through it, and then when they're teaching me, like I can have trust in them because they've gone through the same stuff. So it's easy for me to buy in and kind of listen to their systems.
Ask him about his 2 weeks as the captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning, or unless he already has told you. But I had something else. You know what? Come back. I had something else. It left me.
Okay, sounds good. So you guys, you're up here now in North Bay, and I know you guys obviously have made trips before you came to play and stuff. What's something about the city that's kind of like been surprising to you or enjoyable that you didn't think was going to be really when you're coming up to the middle of nowhere in Northern Ontario?
I like how you get the feel of the small town and the big city. I'm from Milderton, a very small town, and so I'm used to the small, but it's also 10 minutes outside London. So I do a lot of my training and stuff in London. So I know what the big city's like too. And I thought it was pretty cool that North Bay kind of finds its place in the middle here. And I just like how I can kind of relate to the small town feel. Everyone kind of knows each other. I mean, at least for us, people know who we are. And I also like how it's got the big city feel, the busy roads and all the big establishments and stuff that you can recognize.
Yeah, I think to speak to that, I like that, like within a couple months, like I knew where everyone lived, right? Like it's not too big of a city where you kind of can get lost in it. But it's big enough that you have like those restaurants that you get in big cities, and then you have the smaller town restaurants, which I really like Burger World, which we've been to there enough times. So but yeah, having both kind of sides of that really makes it feel a little bit like home, which I'm from Ottawa, so it's a little bigger, but I kind of get that small town feel, which I'm not really used to.
I don't know if you guys have seen this because they haven't played it as much in the rink this year, but the first year the team was here, they really loved this advertisement from Burger World where there was like Goodrow and like Matt McLeod and Nick Paul and all them were just sitting there eating there. And it was like the worst advertisement ever. But now they need to shoot a new one other than the one that has Paul and Corey Marks in it, I think.
Hey, Burger World is still there, so obviously it's working.
Yeah, they're in no danger of losing business anytime soon, I don't think. But do you guys obviously by your reactions you've seen the commercials, but do you give any Paul any acting tips?
I don't. He's got more acting experience than I do. So I mean, I'm not one to talk.
Yeah, the guys gave it to him a little bit for the acting, but honestly, it's pretty respectable that he's up there on the camera, because I wouldn't be doing that, that's for sure.
I feel like his billet family's like, you have to do this or else you're out. So
Stuff packed, he's ready to go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Guys, being younger on the team means you still got to go to school, but there's also a lot of like volunteering in the community and whatnot. And with restrictions kind of loosening a bit with COVID, how important has it been for both of you to get out there and meet the fans as one-on-one kind of thing as you can?
I'd say it's pretty neat. At the start of the year, we every Wednesday we'd go out and help like small hockey players learn how to skate and get used to playing with the puck and stuff like that. Obviously, because of COVID, we haven't had as much experience as a normal year. But like you said, getting involved in the community has been important to us, and just having our presence around kind of the younger ones of the city is really cool.
Yeah, I think just seeing how much influence and how much the even the little hockey players kind of look up to you, like during warm-ups, if they're asking for a puck and they're really excited, or even before the game if they're kind of in there. And I'm in my pregame ritual, but I definitely want to take time for them. And yeah, it's really cool just seeing the guys that look up to you, and it makes me feel a little proud that I've got to a point where I'm influencing the younger hockey generation.
Odd out of left field question for you, Mr. Outwater. Just because I've noticed this because I'm at every home game pretty much, so I've noticed this. When the team comes out and they skate the one way, you're always going against the current. Is that just part of your pregame ritual? Like you have to do that every game?
Yeah, so I think it was the third game I was doing that, and it was just instinct, and I ran into Petrov. And
That's why he's hurt.
and I just kept doing it, and I just made sure not to hit him. But yeah, I don't know what happened there, but a little miscommunication. But yeah, ever since then I go the other way.
Was when you hit him and you guys collide, what's the reaction immediately when that happens?
With Petrov, it's a big joke. He's always one for the joke, so it's all fun and games.
That's really funny. Oh my. Generic Frontline podcast question that I always end up asking. I feel like I need a jingle or something that I need to insert here or something, but obviously favorite and least favorite places to play so far, gentlemen.
I'd have to go with kind of just the smaller rinks are less fun because you have less time. I remember we played in Owen Sound in preseason. That one wasn't too fun. It's just really small. I mean, good atmosphere in there, but hard to play in as an away team. Also, Sudbury is a weird one to play in. I don't know, just something about it that doesn't quite feel right. And then I'd say my favorite might have been the Sioux's got to be up there. It's a really nice arena. It's got the bowl, which I think is pretty cool, and it was pretty loud in there too. So just being, especially when we won, it was nice to silence the home crowd too.
No.
Yeah, I don't like playing in Sudbury too much. I mean, we have had success there. I'm not a big fan of the rink, so it's probably got to be on the lower end of my choice. And I like playing in Hamilton a lot. Just the full experience of that rink. It's a huge rink. It makes you feel like you're playing in the NHL, right? And it's a pretty cool place to play.
Some success. You guys blew them out 14-3 this weekend. That's pretty good. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Also, full disclosure, this weekend in Sudbury, I was on the away team broadcast, and I mentioned that Sudbury seems to be the one place that a lot of you guys don't like to play. So if they end up blowing you up in the corner or something, that's my bad. So go ahead and make fun of me or something in the locker room. I don't care. Never talk to me again.
That?
I don't know.
It's like giving the names of the spies in a James Bond movie.
Well, these guys hadn't said it yet, so they're safe.
Jesus. The amateur hour here.
Basically, I'm just an agent of chaos, gentlemen. It kind of came out and it fueled the rivalry a little bit.
So I have you to blame for that big hit last night then.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm sorry. But I mean, you got some revenge there. I mean, you got the nice goal, both of you. So
still got hit.
Yeah, it's true. So I wanted to ask, we talked about your goals, your most recent goals in Sudbury. Let's talk about your first goals. What was your reaction? And if you still remember the play, I'm assuming you guys do. So
yeah, I'll go. Yeah, it was in Sioux, I think. Our second or third game in Sioux. and I think I got a pass from Romani, and I just kind of took my ice and got a shot off, and I was pretty high up in the zone, so I wasn't expecting much of it. I just wanted to get a shot on net, and it went in, and it was a pretty exciting feeling. I wasn't expecting it, and kind of got off as much of a celebration as I could. And it was a pretty cool moment because it was both me and Anthony's first points. So we were pretty excited on the bus ride home.
I was sitting in the stands for that one because I live here in the Sioux, and it was my first OHL game in ages. So thank you for making it fantastic for me. And I'm glad I actually got to see it in person. I was the only guy cheering, by the way. I looked ridiculous, but I loved it.
My first goal, well, I scored my first game in preseason here at home, but I guess that doesn't really count. My first regular season goal took a little bit longer than I would have hoped, but I got it in Peterborough. We had just scored and we lined up for the face-off. It was in like the last minute of the second period or something, I think. And I just caught them sleeping off the draw at center ice. I poked it through and took a shot from the left side, and I just beat them over the pad.
Can't go wrong there. Can't go wrong there. For you, Owen O, the wait between the draft and playing wasn't so super long. It was about the normal wait. With you, Mr. Van Steensel, well, we had you on just before they ended up canceling the COVID, like the season to COVID. Finally getting up here for both of you guys and getting in those first, the training camp, the preseason, the first game. How exciting was it that you guys finally got to get going?
It was super cool. It was definitely a countdown for me for when I finally got to come up here. Once I hit August last year, I was pretty excited and couldn't wait to get up here. And ever since, it's been a blast.
Yeah, it was definitely a moment of kind of just pure excitement. I remember the first day of training camp, walking up the stairs and just looking at the rink and being like, wow, like it's really happening. I'm here. So it's been pretty cool. And yeah, it's been a great experience.
I still remember when we first had you on, Owen, way back when you first signed with the team after the draft. And then as soon as we recorded that episode, Van Steensel, that is, as soon as we recorded the episode, like maybe a week or two later, like we were talking like, oh, the season's gonna get going, how excited are you to get going and sign with the team, and then like a week or two later it was canceled. That must have just been a bit of a gut punch for all you guys.
Yeah, we were waiting to hear some good news, and obviously that didn't happen, but we were staying optimistic, and we had glimmers of hope here and there, but ultimately it didn't work out in the end. But I mean, we're here now and everything's good.
So we don't usually go too in depth into the next game, because usually it's kind of like we want this to stay fresh and current, if you want to listen to it 3 weeks from now or whatever. There's a big game Thursday. We have to talk about it against Mississauga. They're playing right now, so it depends on if it's going to be 2 points behind you or they're going to be tied going into Thursday. So it's obviously a meaningful battle in the battle for first and central. How amped are you guys for that? And maybe how nerve-wracking is that as well?
It's exciting. I think it's cool because it's in our own hands to kind of pull away from them. We don't have to kind of hope other teams beat them and stuff like that. We can take control here, which we're excited about. And I think we just come out and play our game and have fun with it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement towards it. A lot of the guys we're ready to prove that we're not below Mississauga. I think we're a better team, and I think we're ready to prove it. But I think there's also a feeling as we have to go in like it's just another game, right? Like you gotta have the same mentality that take it one at a time, and we gotta win this game, and then we'll worry about the games after that.
Well, gentlemen, we're really excited to see you in action Thursday. We're really excited to see you in action pretty much anytime you guys are in action. So thank you so much for taking the time on the Frontline podcast this week. We really appreciate it. Looking forward to Thursday and looking forward to the rest of the season. And of course, with that X around your name in the standings as well, looking forward to the postseason as well.
Yeah, thank you guys very much for having us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
We got to thank Owen Van Steensel and Owen Outwater for making their second tours of duty here on the Frontline podcast. And we got a lot to get to in the second half. From Tom Parisi, he's Kortney Kenny. The main obvious one, Kortney, is if you look at the OHL website, you look at the standings, there's a wonderful letter X beside the North Bay Battalion name, which means they have officially clinched a playoff spot. They did it while we, in between episodes. So now we can talk about it. And that's after we mentioned it, scoring 14 goals in 2 games against the Sudbury Wolves. And I got to be honest, it was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, I think we could just like a little sub name for this podcast is the Make Fun of the Wolves podcast. And someday that might just bite us in the ass, which is fine because that's the cyclical nature of the OHL.
That's what Wolves do.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Anyways, yeah, no, as I mentioned previously, I was on the away broadcast on Sunday. Well, it was the home broadcast in Sudbury. Thank you. Shout out to Thomas Mercier for asking me to come on and be his color guy. It was rough because I'm pro North Bay and obviously they're pro Wolves, and I'm like having the time of my life. Like, oh, we just scored 7 goals, and they're like, this is awful. Like, this is the worst. And we need to hopefully Peterborough starts to lose so we can claw our way back into the playoff race. And I'm like, yeah, I don't need to worry about that. So it was strange, but it was nice. And yes, an X next to their name, which is fantastic because as Tom knows, it doesn't happen every year because he missed out the first year of getting that X next to the name. So Tom,
well, they came down to the last game of the season and they lost.
Yep.
Against Niagara.
Yep.
Son of a bee sting. So it's fantastic news, and they beat the living snot out of Sudbury, which is even fantasticer news.
Yep.
So hooray for that.
Hey, they only had to see that Wolf 3 times this weekend.
That's fantastic.
Over 2 games, that's a win, right? So
100%.
But the thing, so real quick about the Wolf, because I'm standing further down in the broadcast booth than where I usually stand. And I completely forgot about it for whatever reason, for as much as we talk about it. And also, it was 7-2 at this point. They had just scored their second goal of that game Sunday. And I'm just kind of like looking down at the ice, blah, blah, blah. And then I look up to talk to Thomas, and the Wolf is like right there in my face. I'm like, oh my goodness, hello.
No, jeez.
Look at the fleas on that thing. So,
well, the first year I saw it, it had dust and it dropped all over the ground on the ice. So
yeah,
you call it fleas, I call it dust. It's funny you say that because I was also on an away broadcast for the first time in ages this weekend. The Kitchener Rangers came to town and asked if I wanted to work the Sioux game. So I did. And the same thing, the Sioux beat them 7-4 in the game I got to do. And it's really tough to be like, and keep it cool.
Yeah.
But I still had a great time. The problem was the internet was down across the city.
Uh-oh.
So you know how we connect, but you can connect through a phone line or internet to do those away radio broadcasts.
Mm-hmm.
It must have dropped. Like we lost connection a dozen times in like the pregame show. And basically up until the second period, I think we were on for like 10 minutes. It's like a football game. And oh, what a mess. What an absolute mess. We were cutting to commercials. The poor producer back in Kitchener, I don't know if it was his first day or not, but he, for what a dumpster fire it turned into, he did so good with keeping us on the air as best he could, figuring out commercials. I mean, that kid gets a gold star in my book because what a mess. What an absolute mess it turns out. But it worked. We still had fun.
Oh, that's what matters, right? And as you mentioned, it had been a long time for you to be on a broadcast, so I'm sure that felt great.
It's hard to do color. It's really hard to do color commentary.
Yeah, I guess if you're used to play-by-play, it's pretty tough to jump over.
Exactly. It's not easy to make a transition because, man, you see, like, the guy calling the game, the guy who does the Kitchener games, Mike Farwell in radio, has been doing it for years. He's really, really good at what he does. But every now and then, he looks away or he's got to look at something, whatever. And you're like, oh, you want to say something, but you can't. So it's not easy, especially when you're chatterbox like I am. So it's, but it's fun. I liked it. I got it. The first few were like, "Oh yeah, the ice looks great there tonight." It's like I sound like an idiot.
Yeah, no, you
And by
couldn't
the
have.
time I got into it, it sorted itself out. But oh, you forget how like you have to cram so much information into this much time.
Yeah, I always feel guilty whenever I start talking over the play, but you also don't want to cut yourself off mid-sentence to sound weird. And thankfully, working with you and Matt, you guys kind of let me have my say, unless there's like a goal where you'll talk
Oh
over
yeah,
me,
I
which
don't
is
care.
totally fair. But it's funny that you say that because I had to do my first basketball game this weekend as well.
Oh, I don't
Uh,
like calling basketball.
yeah, so
It's not easy.
no, it was the women's and men's Lakers team up at Nipissing, which I mean, obviously, like it was fun. There was actually a lot of people in the crowd, which was nice. The women's team were down 20 points in the fourth quarter, came back to almost tie it, but they eventually lost.
See, that makes it exciting though.
Yeah, it was super exciting. The men's game was really exciting, and then I go see the Harlem Globetrotters there on Monday, so it was like basketball week. I saw more basketball in the past couple of days than I've seen in hockey, which is weird. Um, I really appreciate that. But yeah, anyways, so I don't really know much about basketball. All my knowledge comes from the Toronto Raptors championship run in 2019. So Derek was doing play-by-play, thankfully, Derek Lindemann, and I was doing color, and I was just like, yeah, nice shot. Or, wow, that's a three-pointer. Or, oh, they're going to the foul line now and having 2 free throws. Or, oh, it's a 3-point play. Or, just really basic knowledge. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm not really. But then we totally ripped off the guy from our Derek. I called Derek out to do it, and he ripped off the guy from the Raptors games where if like it's a long shot, they'll say from so and so. So he was just naming all the communities around here, which was fun. We had like a list of like, oh, which ones have you said yet, and which ones haven't you? But yeah, no, it's at least with hockey, you knew what was going on. With basketball, I was like, oh, the ball's dribbling. Like,
A fun story. My first ever broadcast of anything sports-wise was a college basketball game.
oh boy.
Humber College, where I went to school, it was a women's game. And I forget who they were playing, but the broadcasting crew who was doing the show knew somehow I wanted to do that. And they said, oh, we got a game for you. Do you want to do it? I didn't even, that's all they said was, we got a game for you. I was like, sure, sign me up. I'm in. And I don't know why I assumed it was soccer or hockey. I don't know why I assumed that, because the team didn't have much of a hockey. The school didn't have much of a hockey team, and soccer was kind of winding down. But for some reason, that's like what I studied, and I didn't even think to ask them. To my surprise, they told me to meet me at the gym, the school gym at like 5 or 6 o'clock, and we'll do pregame. I was like, oh, in the Gyn, you say? By the gym. Oh, it's a women's basketball game. Oh, you don't say. So that afternoon, I studied as best as I could, and I wasn't well versed in basketball. I'm a little better now, but not 100%. So we had to go. The way the school is set up is the broadcast center is at the other end of the school.
Oh no.
But like, if you saw them, you'd be like, oh, that's what a close walk. But it's like one of those, there's no like bridge to get across. You got to go like all the way around to get there. So in that space, I read up as much as I could, did some kind of pregame show I was not prepared for. All I remember is the producer was talking in my ear the whole time going, okay, say this, say this, say this, say this, say this. It was a train wreck. Plus the guy I was calling the games with was also named Tom. So
Wow,
he
we
refused to
just
change
went through
his
that.
name for some reason. So I went by Thomas, which like 3 people in the world call me, including my mom. And I did play-by-play for some reason. And it was pretty much, I called it like a hockey game.
I mean,
The worst was this guy was supposed to be a basketball kind of nut. And at one point, he's like, all right, they're going to go to a zone defense. I'm like, actually, Tom, that's a man-to-man, but let's keep it going. I'm like, oh, God, what kind of dumpster fire are we getting into?
yeah.
We pulled it through, but what a
Yep.
mess. Like I listened to it after because they used to play it on the school TV. So I sat and watched it while doing homework one day. Oh, I don't know how I got a job with the battalion. If they ever saw that, I'd have been screwed.
Yeah, no doubt. That's funny. My first ever sports broadcast ever was with you at the battalion home opener that year that you were the first year you were doing it. Because when I went to school for radio, I went to school for I'm going to play music on the radio. And then when I was going through college, I was like, wait a sec, there's sports. I like that.
I play musical sports on the radio.
Yes, like musical chairs. That's a musical sport. But very dangerous one, especially if you've seen the new Jackass movie. But fantastic, really good time. Not as good as the Batman, but still a really good time. But yeah, so anyways, and then the icing on the cake was I get out to my car, my wiper blade fell apart because it was snowing, and I'm out there with freezing hands trying to fix that. And then I'm like, all right, I'm on this side of town because I live in Ferris, so I'm not anywhere close to that side of town where the campus is. I'm like, I'm on this side of town. It's 10 o'clock at night. Dinner time's done, but I haven't had anything to eat. I'm hitting up Taco Bell because we have one, and I haven't had it in ages. They closed at 10. I was there at 10:15. I was like, are you kidding me? Come on. But anyway, I was very upset about that. But anyways, back to the battalion. Yes, hockey is my comfort zone when it comes to broadcasting sports. I could probably get through baseball because I love baseball so much, which thankfully the lockout is over and they're back to spring training. But yeah, big game coming up Thursday, Tom. Big game.
Oh yeah, monster. I don't know what's going on.
Well, basically, for those that don't know what we're talking about, the North Bay Battalion are currently 2 points up on the Mississauga Steelhead.
Oh, I thought you were talking about a baseball game. I was like,
no,
what the hell, a baseball game is important now?
Sorry. Yeah, no. Spring training, no, is not important at whatever whatsoever. Baseball, the thing that's I like baseball, but the thing that's infuriating about baseball is the season's too damn long. 162 games. We could cut that off. Come on. But anyways, no, big battalion game. And again, for those that might be living under a rock, if you're listening to this podcast, first off, you shouldn't be, because you should probably get versed with the battalion a little bit. But if you're trying to listen to this podcast to get versed with the battalion, well, okay, here it is. Mississauga. As of right now, they're playing the Barrie Colts. We will not have the results of that by the time we're done recording this podcast. So the Steelheads are either 2 points behind the battalion or they're tied with the battalion for first in the Central Division. So Thursday night, guess who's in North Bay? The Mississauga Steelheads. It's going to be a huge game. It's St. Paddy's Day. Why not come out and see the boys in green while you're wearing your green? And yeah, it's gonna be a big one. And you know what? If there's ever a game for the seventh man to come out for, it's this one for sure in the regular season.
Like the next 3 games are monsters. So yeah, we know about Mississauga, and then Sunday it's against Barrie.
Yep.
Who can be hit and miss. Like they can be really good one night and then poo the next. But then the next Thursday is Hamilton, and they've been
monsters,
disgusting as of late.
Monsters.
Like probably beat an AHL team at this point. Oh my god.
Yeah.
But they couldn't, by the way. But you get what I mean. What a crazy, like this is like a make or break. Like they made the playoffs. That's all well and good, but you know, now it's time to show what you're made of and not let these people push you around.
Exactly.
It's statement games.
Exactly. And just for context, there's 2 minutes left in the first, and Mississauga's up 4-1 on Barrie. So
I didn't even bother to say it.
Yeah.
Didn't even bother.
No. I don't like Barrie, but go Colts go, type of thing. Like it's ingrained. There's an argument to be made that Barrie's a bigger rival than Sudbury. It's a tough argument, but it is still an argument all the same. But this year, obviously, Mississauga is the 1-2 team with the battalion at the top of the division. So you kind of want Barrie to pull their weight a little bit. And again, like you mentioned, they're hit and miss. But I mean, with a team like Brant Clark and Matt Guzda, they're a tough team in general. So but they're down 4-1 right now, so that's not a good sign. And as you mentioned, yeah, this is the kind of the gauntlet, if you will, so far of the regular season. Um, and that's been something in the post game scrums that Ryan has said to me when I've asked him some questions. Is like, this is the time of year where you have to show up and play, and so far the guys have really responded to that, and I mean that they've done absolutely fantastic over the past 2 months now.
Exactly. They've really tightened up the old bootstraps and really gone to work, but there's still a lot of work ahead of them, and you can't relent. Like you want home ice advantage as much as you can. It makes a big difference in the way you coach. It makes a big difference in how you play. Plus, I hear rumblings that the sixth man is just the bee's knees, or seventh.
Yes.
Seventh man. So basketball.
Yeah.
Ah,
Not only
so,
that, I mean, you're forgiven. You haven't seen a battalion game in 4 years now, or whatever it is. So,
well, I saw
other than
them.
in the Sioux,
What's that?
I said,
Yeah,
other than in the Sioux.
I haven't been to the Memorial Gardens since I left, and I really miss it because that building means a lot to me. So I want to get back so bad.
There's
bad.
no better excuse than now, Tom.
Well, there is, because there's no one to take care of my dogs.
Oh yeah, okay, that's a pretty good excuse, I guess.
A bachelor this week.
But okay, you heard it, party at Tom's house. But yeah, if we can make it 5 hours down the road. But I mean, the playoffs are going to be a good reason to come. In general, to see this team is a good reason to come. And me trying to woo Tom to North Bay is the same as me trying to woo you out to the stands. This is a good team. Come out and watch them. They're exciting. It's fun hockey. And sometimes you get some surprises like the lineup, but
oh man, we got to talk about that. So if you didn't hear the last episode, we tried to guess where Liam Arnsby was going to play. Oh, we're thinking, oh, he's going to move down. He's going to move here. He's going to move there. And I guess our good friend, who I almost missed out in the early part of this episode, and he'll probably kick me when he sees me one of these days. Ryan Houlihan, the coach of your team. Kortney, he played us for fools. He did.
Yeah, he really did. So Arnsby started on the top line. Petrov moved down to that third line. A second line of Van Steensel, McDonald, and Russell stayed intact. And then the fourth line had like Wakely and Outwater and Romani. Like it's again, it doesn't change what we were saying. It's a dangerous team. Like 1 through 4 is like, I don't want to play any of these lines, especially now that Petrov's playing on that third line. No, thank you. Can you imagine? Like he's gonna get the like, who do you want to defend against? Do you want to defend against Jackson and Arnsby? Do you want to send your best defenders out against McDonald, Van Steensel, Russell? Do you want to send your best defenders out against Petrov? Your best defenders can't play the whole game, or Wakely's line, that's a dangerous line too. So, Mr. Ryan Houlihan said he was laughing pretty good when he heard us coming up with some of our reasons as, maybe they'll play him here, maybe they'll play him there.
If you called more often, Ryan, and told us what you were doing, we wouldn't sound like idiots.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, he was the one that set up his last appearance, because Mr. Nick Morin was really dropping the ball on that one. But anyways, but yeah, maybe if you called a little bit more, Ryan, geez, you're in danger of losing your friend of the show status.
I think you watch too much hockey.
It's either us or the hockey, Ryan.
We still love him. We're caught. But
true.
Yes, 3 big games. Make sure you are in attendance. I saw one of the last home games had 2,500, which is great. But we can break the 2,500 barrier. We can do it. So recap: Thursday, 7:00, Mississauga. That's a biggie. Then again on Sunday at 2 versus Barrie. And then we'll probably talk before then, but next Thursday against Hamilton in North Bay as well. It's a 7:00 start. So all those 3 games in the Bay.
Yes. And it's exciting because, like we've touched on many times on this podcast, the majority of the home games are really helping out North Bay because they're in the second half of the season.
Yep. That's fantastic.
Exactly. And it was looking kind of dire at first in the second half of the season because we didn't have fans. It was kind of like, oh no, like what are we going to do about these home games? Because there's no home game element really. You take the fans out of it. That's a big chunk of it. But now that, full capacity and stuff again, get out there, support your battalion. And really it's exciting. And the other thing too that's neat, by the time this comes out, you might have already heard of it, those who are listening. If you have a special furry friend at home, it's a Humane Society game. So take a picture with them wearing their battalion green or something, and they'll be showcased up at the Jumbotron at some point in the game. So it's going to be pretty exciting, and there's also a deal if you go to the game and for the Humane Society. So it's a really good reason as Tom tries to get his friend over there, who's usually in the background, but Tom's in a new location this time around. So, but yeah, no, it's pretty exciting for sure.
See, and the Humane Society is fantastic because that's where we got, not the North Bay one, but that's where we got both of our little fur friends. Nora, she's from Halifax, or Sydney, Nova Scotia. My beard? She's right there. And then Indy, who's half asleep on the couch right by that lamp, he's from the Timmins Humane Society. So it's a fantastic place to get your animals. And hey, adopt if you can, because there's dogs out there who need some good homes from good people like you.
Absolutely.
It's that simple.
Absolutely. I like my furry little friend. He's not so little, Mr. Orion, but
He's a big fella.
he is very big. He's very rambunctious. But anyways, Tom, yeah,
Yes.
big games. And
Oh yes,
pretty
big
excited.
game. So if you're watching this on your TV, you can watch the full episodes on YouTube. Yes, you can see our pretty mugs anywhere you like. Stream us anywhere you can hear your podcast too. Google Podcast, Apple Music, Spotify, you name it, we're there. And we always say thank you to our guest today, Owen Van Steensel, Owen Outwater, for their tour of duty. Our producers for the podcast, Ben Sargent. For the broadcasts, Ben Long. Follow us on social media. Follow Battalion on social media. You don't want to miss a thing, because if you do, you're going to have to hear about it from us. This is the Frontline podcast, and this is fun. So we're going to do it again sometime.